We're in the Salem Public Library, which is in the Salem Civic Center, essentially, the complex. Well, the Ben Maxwell Collection is our primary collection that was donated to the library, so we have full, what amounts to copyright of this collection. Ben was a journalist and I guess you call it an amateur historian who he was born and raised in Salem, and he had a particular interest in history, probably to some degree because he comes from a family of old people who talked about old times. So he found that irresistible, and then he got this job with the local paper and became a journalist for that, and ended up with a weekly column. And much of what he did, he always photographed, and he would carry his camera with him wherever he went on whatever mission that happened to be. And he wrote this weekly column for 20 or 30 years or something like that, and amassed this humongous collection that we now have.
One of Ben's interests were covered bridges, and so this is a book here that shows all kinds of covered bridges, mostly taken in the late 30s. And of course, unfortunately, a lot of those bridges aren't extant today, but we have a great photographic history of them here. Ben was interested in buildings as well as covered bridges and even transportation. And this is a photograph of the Marion County Courthouse, which unfortunately was demolished in the mid-50s. And at one time there were a lot of riverboats on the Willamette here in Salem. And this, I believe, is one of the last steamers that came down from Oregon City. Ben wrote over a period of about 26 years, about 3,800 articles about local history. And we're lucky to have scrapbooks that he put together himself with many of his articles. Most of the articles were from the Capital Journal, which was a Salem paper, but he also was published in other papers. And his photographs were actually published nationally. And in fact, some of them were in Better Homes and Gardens, Sunset Magazine, and even in the New York Times. This is a really interesting article, and it talks about the Salem's Congregational Church. The most interesting part for me, anyway, is the little bit of information about a pastor named Obed Dickinson. And Obed Dickinson was a distant cousin of Emily Dickinson. And what makes him unique was as he came in the 1850s and founded the Congregational Church in Salem, it happened to be the first church in this area that was a mixed-race congregation. I'm not sure if everyone knows that the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was actually filmed in Salem, but it was filmed at our state hospital. And here is a photograph and an article by Ben, and it was in 1958, talking a little bit about Diamond Jubilee for the state hospital. Ben put together books of photographs, and he put them together by county. These are some examples of books from Marion County, and photographs of the St. Paul's Catholic Church, and photographs of old pioneer homes, and some early photographs of the Shamawa Indian School that's located just to the north of Salem. We're really fortunate to have the collection of Ben Maxwell. Currently it's called the Hugh Morrow Collection, and Hugh was a library director from 1939 to 1972 and a personal friend of Ben Maxwell. I think what makes Ben Maxwell's work so unique is that not only technically was he a journalist and a photographer, but Ben's work as a historian brings a lot of the history alive, not only the contemporary things he saw and experienced, but his ability to draw together a lot of things that were still around in Salem and bring them to us in a way that we can understand how life was.